Hi there, welcome back to our tutorial series on YouTube brought to you by O3 School's JAMB app. If you haven't downloaded the app, please do so now, and also, refer to your friends. I promise you, it is all you need to prepare for your examinations in one app. So download, refer to your friends, and practice. Use the app. So back to what we have for today. Our topic is disobedience and consequences. Disobedience is the opposite of obedience. It is unwillingness to comply with given instructions. Let's define it that way. Disobedience is unwillingness to comply with given instructions. And just like obedience leads to rewards, disobedience leads to consequences. So now we're going to quickly run through some people in the Bible that disobeyed God and the consequences it got them. First, we'll look at Adam and Eve. In Genesis chapter 2 and 3. Adam and Eve, God's first creation. God created Adam and Eve, and he put them in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. He gave them instructions. They could eat anything. They could eat from any tree in the garden, except the tree of good and evil. They were not to eat it. God told them that if they eat from it, they would die. Now, the serpent, the most cunning creature that God created, went to Eve and told her that, has God asked them not to eat from the tree? And she said, yes, God asked them not to eat of that tree. Of every other thing else they could eat from, but not from that tree. The serpent told Eve that they would not die if they eat from it. Only they would be as wise as God. They will be able to tell the difference between good and evil. Their eyes would be opened. And so when Eve saw that there was a chance that they would not die, and the fruit was actually edible, she ate from it and gave to her husband, Adam. Indeed, their eyes were opened and they discovered that they were naked. They quickly got leaves and sewed it to cover their nakedness. And when God came walking in the garden, they hid themselves from God. When God called out to them, they replied that they were naked and they were ashamed to come out before God. And God asked, how did you know you were naked? So they explained that they ate from the tree of good and evil, and it was the serpent that deceived them. As punishment, God drove them out of the Garden of Eden. He also caused the serpent. For the serpent, it would crawl on its belly and God also brought enmity between the seed of the serpent and the seed of woman, and the seed of the woman. For the woman, God multiplied her sorrow in childbirth. Her desire will also be for man, and he would rule over her. As for man, God caused the soil for his sake. So God caused the ground for man, and he would toil to eat all the days of his life. That was for Adam and Eve. They disobeyed the instruction that God gave them, not to eat from the tree of good and evil, and these were the consequences that it got them. The children of Israel also disobeyed God. The children of Israel, first in Exodus chapter 16 and in Exodus chapter 32. In the wilderness of sin, the children of Israel disobeyed God. They complained to Moses of hunger, and Moses complained to God on their behalf. God promised to send down bread from heaven in the morning and meat at night, but the instruction was simple. God asked them to take as much, what would be enough for them for that day, and the next day he would send more. But the children of Israel disobeyed, and they took more than. By morning, what was left, bread worms, and it stank. So they took over and it spoiled. The leftover bread worms. It became useless. Also, on the sixth day, God asked them to take what would be enough for them for 2 days, because they would rest on the Sabbath day, so they would not go to the field to gather food. But some people disobeyed, and on the Sabbath day, they still went out to gather, but they didn't get anything. There was nothing to gather. Also, in Exodus chapter 32, God called Moses to a mountain, and when he was with God, the children of Israel found out that he delayed, and they asked Aaron for another god. Aaron now asked them to take off their golden earrings. With it, he made a golden calf, which the children of Israel claimed brought them out of Egypt, and they worshipped it, making a feast, celebrating a feast to the golden calf. God now told Moses about the actions of the Israelites and his intention to destroy them. But Moses begged on their behalf. He didn't want people, especially the Egyptians, to say God brought the Israelites out of Egypt to kill them in the wilderness. So God listened to the pleas of Moses, and he didn't destroy the children of Israel for building and worshiping a golden calf, but he plagued them. God plagued the children of Israel as a consequence to building the golden calf. So first, in Exodus chapter 16, the children of Israel did not follow God's instructions to gather enough food for the day. Some gathered, and by morning, what was left, bread worms. It became useless to them. Also, on the sixth day, God asked them to gather for 2 days, and some did not. By the time they went to the field to gather on the seventh day, God did not send anything. And then the children of Israel also made a golden calf to worship. They forsook God and began to worship a golden calf, and as consequence, God plagued the children of Israel. Also, we have Moses in Numbers chapter 20. When the Israelites were in the wilderness of Zin, they complained of water. They complained they were thirsty. And God told Moses to speak to the rock in the presence of all the Israelites. But in anger, Moses struck the rock twice. And the consequence of his disobedience was that as a consequence of Moses' disobedience, Moses did not enter the promised land. Moses was supposed to lead the children of Israel from Egypt to the promised land where God had promised he would give to them. But because he struck the rock, when God asked him to speak to the rock, God did not allow Moses enter the promised land. God only took him to a mountain and showed him the land that he was going to give to the Israelites, but Moses did not enter it. Another person that disobeyed God in the Bible was Saul in 1 Samuel chapters 10 to 16. So Saul was the son of Kish, and the first king of Israel, anointed by Samuel. Saul was the son of Kish, and he was also the first king of Israel that Samuel anointed. Now, God sent Samuel to tell Saul to utterly destroy the Amalekites. God wanted everything destroyed. Man, woman, child, animal, whatever that belonged to the Amalekites, God wanted it to be destroyed. So Saul went to Amalek with his army of 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men from Judah. By the time Saul got to Amalek with his men and attacked them, he spared the king and the best of their animals. He only destroyed what they didn't like and what was of no value, what was worthless. And God sent Samuel back to Saul to tell him that he had rejected Saul as a king in Israel. And when Saul tried to defend himself, saying he brought the animals to sacrifice to God, Samuel told him that to obey is better than sacrifice. So consequence for Saul's disobedience to God was that his family lost the kingship. Also, the Spirit of God left him. And an evil spirit entered him. So God gave Saul an instruction and he disobeyed. The consequence became that his family lost the kingship. God said he had rejected him as a king in Israel, and also the Spirit of God left him. An evil spirit troubled him. We saw how the spirit troubled him, and he died in battle with his sons on the same day. Now, these are just some people that disobeyed God in the Bible. There are others like Jonah and Judas that also disobeyed God, and we saw the consequences for their disobedience. Now we look at the O3 Schools JAMB app to check out for some questions that have been previously asked on this topic, disobedience and consequences. Here's a 1993 question. What was the sin committed by Saul that cost him his kingdom? A, disobedience. B, adultery. C, jealousy. D, murder. The answer is A, disobedience. The instruction God gave to him, he carried it out to an extent, which is disobedience. A 2002 question says, Adam named his wife Eve because she was A, deceived by the serpent. B, the one that misled him. C, the bone of his bones. D, the mother of all living. The answer is D, the mother of all living things. You can find that in Genesis chapter 3. He called her Eve because she was the mother of all living things. Then we also have a question from 2005. When Moses struck the rock twice for water instead of speaking to it, God said to him that he would A, no longer see him face to face. B, not bring the Israelites to the promised land. C, not see his holiness. D, roam in the wilderness for 30 years. The answer is B, not bring the Israelites to the promised land. Now, you too can have access to these questions if you download the O3 Schools JAMB app and activate it. Also, do not forget to like this video, comment your questions down below if you have any, and also subscribe to the channel. Thank you.